Oh shit. You good? I think we good. What's up with y'all boys, man? How y'all been, bro? It's been a hot ass minute. It's been a hot minute, bro. Let me just make sure everything's smooth right now. Damn. Yeah, I think we cool, bro. What's up with y'all, son? It's been a it's been a good minute, bro. Good minute. Glad to be back on here though. Shit, I don't even know where to start to be honest with you, bro. It's been so much stuff that's been happening. Uh, like in the and at least in boxing these past couple of days. Um, so much stuff. The fights that just recently happened with Rolly and Tio was pretty good. Definitely kind of went how I expected it to go. Yeah, that fight pretty much went how I expected it to go. I mean, um, I was I was kind of hoping that Tio would come in, you know, being a different fighter, but still the same fighter. You know, he makes no adjustments. Um, Still lunging in with a lot of his punches. You know, I have regard to Tio as like one of the best. You know, like he a good fighter. I don't think he's a plus fighter by any means. You know, honestly I never really. No, it was at some point I think I did, but he still never really could cross that threshold that he has, like to be a plus fighter. He just makes so many mistakes, bro. So many mistakes. I don't even know. He has a mandatory coming up with I think it's Jack Catterall, which is a terrible fight for him. Terrible fight. That's a huge possibility he can lose that fight because that's a terrible matchup for him. I really want to get into what's going on with MMA, to be honest with you, because I haven't been caught up with MMA recently. I think there's a fight going on tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. UFC, UFC Shanghai. I want to say I think it's is that the night this weekend? UFC Shanghai. What was the past UFC card that just happened? It was Islam, right? Islam and fought. Islam fought thing it was controversy because I think Islam was supposed to get that guy up out of there or something, and it was a pretty tough fight for him. I think if I can find the shit. Wasn't that fight just like last week or week before last? What card was this? Okay, this is police. I'm not spelling his name right, am I? There you go. Yeah, so was this the guy was this recent?
Lands a combination.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. He's got to make sure he doesn't separate his arm. And now he is.
Oh! Massive head kick from Makashev.
That was absolutely huge. Ian's still stunned.
Makashev closing the distance.
Oh yeah.
That works because he throws that off the left hand. He actually right here. Look at that, dude. That works because he throws that off the.
So what people were saying was that it was a close fight when it wasn't supposed to be.
Urgent and perhaps suggested that it's 2-2 as opposed to
making you know, obviously.
Seemed like a good card too. That's what I like about UFC cards, bro. They even the underdog fights are very entertaining. What is these screenshots, bro? What is going on? Ooh. Alright, so let's. Alright, so the next card is UFC Shanghai. What's the next big card, bro? Like what fighters are fighting in the next big card? Like, they need a motherfucking super card, like another super card, cause that Conor McGregor fight clearly was not it. Thinking like Ilya Tapor. I want to see Ilya Tapor fight again. I also want to see the is it the rematch with Dustin Poirier. I mean not Dustin Poirier. My fucking sorry man. I keep forgetting my man's name, bro. That should be throwing me off. Justin Gaethje. Justin Gaethje. That's what I'm thinking of. I definitely want to see that rematch.
Seven to one underdog against it. Patty was like, that guy beat my ass. That guy's 7 to 1 underdog against it, and then you beat Ilya, and I think Patty was like, okay, just as I thought. Like Gaethje is a beast. I think it was a respectful comment to you. How do you feel about like that type of combo? And are you and Patty probably destined for each other now at this point?
Destined for each other, like to fight again?
Yes.
No. No. I think. No, I think it's crazy what my story has done for so many people. Rafael Fiziev, a guy I fought 2 times, says a very similar thing that I
That boy be good, ain't he?
when I won that fight. Him losing 2 times to me, having been in there with me 2 times, it kind of rejuvenated him. Anthony Joshua, I just saw him talking about how you can never forget how real fighting is and how dangerous it is, and never become too full of yourself. He learned that from that lesson, and yeah, it's pretty cool how across the board it's kind of all athletes respect our sport because it's so
Primal,
so humbling, so primal,
gladiator,
it's
scary.
one-on-one. No, you can
scary, psycho.
The Justin Gaethje Sean O'Malley fight.
people.
They said it was a rematch. I mean, they already fought us on. Fuck, let me do that. Hold on. Stop. What, man? What was he talking about? Patty. I honestly can't remember. No, I can't play the damn video. Hmm. I do want to watch these videos though. Just give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. Alright, let me just play the video after this. Let me turn this down some. This is music. Ooh. Ooh. Boy, got some. He mixes it up so well. Ooh, that's a good. Ooh. It's a good combination by him. Good head movement too, though. Nice. It's crazy. They using more jabs in sparring than they most folks usually do in their fights. From what I see, even the little pity pat jabs, they kind of. Good jab. Good feint. Left hook, right hand. Yeah, Ilya might be the most like there's an apple like technical fighter I've ever really seen in the UFC, bro. Ooh, that's a bad apple too. That's why you got with head getting spawned, bro. What's up, my boy? A lot of double legs, yeah, I can tell. A lot of double leg takedowns. You think Dustin's a big cleaner? I can see that. I mean, of course, it it's a casual take from me. I mean, got great head. Body shot. That body shot on the exit is a perfect fucking shot. He does that a lot. This video is pretty old. I wonder if he still does that. That's nice. leg kick. He kind of got like a James Toney type style. Ooh, body shot. That right. Mean ass body puncher. I was kind of saying he had like a James Toney type style, real loose with his arms. Works off of combinations a lot and uh, uh, like a technician, real technician. You could tell he a nightmare to spar too, cause he just keeps that mental pressure along with the physical pressure. Is James Toney big on the body? Uh, he throws it. I mean, Ilya definitely throws it more.
¿Cuál es
Um,
la mayor competición que existe en esto? El deporte
Ilya kind of
yo quiero
throws
ser el
it.
mejor ahí. Me lo quiero demostrar a
His
todos
body
ustedes.
punch. He kind of throws it at the end point, like he starts his combination off at the head, then ends at the body. Uh, I think James Toney probably would have more room, because he's obviously not worried about getting kicked or knee, or a knee coming back to him, but he probably has more room to mix it up from the head body and all that stuff. So
3, 2, 1. Buena, Pepe. He go in 3 dimensions. He go on feet. He can do it like a boxer.
I think and I know inside myself that I'm gonna finish him inside the first round because I know that I'm way better than him.
yeah, I can see that. I mean, that's a great perspective. Uh, yeah, that's a great perspective. Was like I was saying earlier. I think what's very underrated about him is it's a lot of things that could come firing back on him like a knee or elbow, and throughout his combination, he still gets his combinations off without really getting touched back. I think that's very uh underrated for him because I would be worried about every motherfucking thing coming back, man. Damn ass. I have to get the count. Ad blocker. It's this other video I want to watch. I want to watch this one. 10 most overhyped championship ranks. There's a lot of these in boxing. Very overhyped. I mean, to a lot of people, not to me though, but shit. Only one career loss. Yeah, I know. He lost to uh my man Justin Gaethje. Cub Swanson. We gonna watch him. We gonna watch him next after this video. Cub Swanson. Yeah, we gonna watch him next after this video.
If we are anything, we humans are pattern seekers, and when Khamzat Chimaev rolled around back in 2020, it felt like we'd seen this.
Hold on. Computer chipper. What is going on?
Story before. Oh, there's a guy from.
Let me know if it's too low.
If we are anything, we humans are pattern seekers, and when Khamzat Chimaev rolled around back in 2020, it felt like we'd seen this story before. Oh, there's a guy from remote.
Is my face cam on? Face cam on? What the hell? Why is my face cam on? Okay. Give me 1 second. Alright, there you go.
Russia that has ungodly grappling and he's just dominating everybody? This episode's a rerun, right? People forget he was supposed to have a title eliminator against Leon Edwards after 3 fights against unranked opponents. If not for COVID Rousey Caranoing him, he was looking at gold in early 2021 after debuting in July 2020. And after that, despite the long layoffs for health issues and visa issues and who knows what else issues, he still had a dominant 8-fight run up to middleweight gold, and it very much felt like as soon as this dude gets a belt, he is never letting it go. This was further reiterated when he completely shut down Dricus du Plessis for 25 minutes to become champ. It was boring as hell, but it was total domination on a guy that seemingly nobody could figure out. And then, as the story has gone twice now in this sport somehow, along came Sean Strickland, thus ending one of the most overhyped championship reigns in the brief history of our great sport. And that is what we're talking about today. I'm Tommy, that was my number 10 entry, and now let's talk about number 9, FUNB. Go back and watch Randy Couture versus Josh Barnett, if you can find it on Fight Pass, because the search function on that app is maybe worse than anything I have ever seen for any search tool that has ever existed.
It's a sponsorship. I thought it was a bad
For this video after I found it after an hour of searching. Oh my god. One, Randy Starr to make a splash. They need one, in fact, and it looked like Josh Barnett might be anything I have ever seen for any search tool that has ever. Barnett's just 24 years old. He just beat the best heavyweight in the West. I can't fully confirm this, but it looks like an excited Lorenzo Fertitta asked Josh to call out Mike Tyson and other boxers to come compete in the UFC.
If any of those top-ranked boxers want to get in here as well, Lennox, Tyson, will play my game.
It's crazy, bro.
remember,
It's
the
been
UFC
going on for years, man. They fucking calling out from MMA fighters to boxers, man. It's so crazy to think about.
2002 barely existed, but for the Fertittas infused millions.
I'm gonna say, like, MMA wasn't even really that big back then. You know, especially it's not even close to as it is now. You know, and it's crazy because a lot of people like seeing MMA as such a more brutal sport compared to boxing back then, which is, I mean, obviously that's I don't know, it's kind of subjective, really, but theoretically speaking, a lot of more damage come in boxing than it does in MMA. Because obviously, in boxing we mostly targeting the head. Um, MMA, shit. I mean, obviously damage still happens there, but back then, it wasn't no rules and shit. So I know it was a lot different back then, but I wouldn't want to get in the octagon with them motherfuckers.
A big young star to make a splash. They need one, in fact, and it looked like Josh Barnett might be it. The broadcast makes it feel like we're seeing the passing of the torch to a new generation. And then he failed a post-fight drug test, and everything was ruined. Heavyweight was ruined. Barnett's career in North America was ruined. He would go to Japan immediately and chase Fedor for a decade before finally ending up back in the UFC in his mid-30s.
Yeah, that didn't really work out.
Number 8, left behind Hook. Of all the fighters and champions that came over to the UFC from Strikeforce, you could argue that Luke Rockhold was seen as potentially having the most championship potential. He could strike, he could grapple, he looked like $1 million, and he didn't lose. 9 straight victories in Strikeforce, the winningest middleweight champion in the promotion's history, wins over Jacare and Tim Kennedy, but then he came in and immediately headlining against a white-hot Vitor Belfort got bodied, which was a setback, no doubt, but the extracurricular nature of Vitor's abilities certainly gave Luke a pass.
Man, the guy gets away with it over and over again.
Knockdown rule.
You know,
You talking about the knockdown rule in boxing?
But he really didn't need it anyway. He would get 4 wins back-to-back following the loss, all finishes, 3 performance bonuses. Rockhold lived up to the hype and then had an all-time gritty and spectacular performance when he dethroned Chris Weidman on antibiotics from staff to finally earn that UFC middleweight gold we all knew he was destined for. And 6 months later, he would have one of the most embarrassing upset losses in the whole history of the sport. This being a guy he mopped the floor with, a guy who came in on short notice, a guy who could never quite get to the gold, ended a reign that people thought might end up being the next great one after Anderson Silva, and the fact that he never recovered after that too makes this entry all the stronger. Number 7, no chaser. The hype behind Cody Garbrandt must feel like a distant memory for most, or even a myth if you came to the sport after his title reign, but if you put yourself in the moment, there really couldn't have been a more perfect storm to create massive hype for someone. He comes into 2016 completely unranked, gets 3 first-round knockouts in a row, and now he's competing for the title against the greatest bantamweight of all time, Dominic Cruz. As if that narrative wasn't enough, Cody is a product of Team Alpha Male, Cruz's longtime bitter rivals. But it gets even more insane because he didn't beat Dom with a flash KO in the first round, he out-Cruzed Cruz for 25 minutes. It is still one of the greatest title fight performances ever. Of course people were hyped about his title reign, how could they not be? Every indicator was that we were—
this video is called Overhyped Championship Reigns, but that's more of a real subjective thing. Obviously fighters have their fans and they're gonna take up for them and stuff, but I would say in MMA, fans take this stuff like this more serious, but in boxing, I can't really say there were really any overhyped title. At heavyweight maybe, but in the lower weight classes, it's like everyone barely fights each other anyway. The belts don't really matter as much in boxing as it does in UFC. So I can kind of see that, but in heavyweights though, I can see it being different because it's the heavyweight championship of the world. Is more significant, but.
We're seeing the next all-time great bantamweight. It's a huge part of why the build-up to that fight with Dillashaw was such a big deal. Yes, former champion and teammate turned enemy, but also Cody might be Neo. It's why after Cody got KO'd in that fight, we were all incredibly hyped for that immediate rematch. After all, he did have Dillashaw in trouble. Maybe he just slipped up, got too emotional. These things happen. Then he got finished even faster. Then he got knocked out brawling Pedro Munoz, and it was like, what happened here? What exactly happened to the guy who looked like he was the next all-time great? We were all convinced after that Cruz fight, and the guy has just never gotten even remotely close to that place again.
Okay.
Number 6.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, I can compare his career to Adrian Broner. Adrian Broner was supposed to be the guy, the guy after Mayweather, the top guy. He ended up losing to Marcos Maidana. People had high expectations for Adrian Broner, but everyone kind of knew he was never really gonna compete on the top level, at least in the higher weight classes. Like he was never supposed to go up to 147, but the nigga went up to 147 anyway. If he was to compete, like stay competing at 135, maybe even 140, his career definitely would have went a lot better. I think one of the top guys at 135 at the time was Mikey Garcia. Even if he would have lost to him, his career still would have been better than what it is now. So
Rainbow, the lifespan of a mixed martial arts fan is incredibly short. So much so that when Sean O'Malley had initial hype in the UFC, coming off the Contender Series in 2017, the very first season, a lot of the fans that were there on that train had already moved on by the time he captured the title in 2023, which is a problem for the UFC because they had been trying to push this kid to the moon, even initially, but his USADA saga and injuries saw him sidelined for 2 whole years. And after that return, they didn't push him too hard. It took 8 whole fights to get him to that title. I mean, that's a whole UFC career for some guys. The UFC was huge on pushing O'Malley once he finally earned that title because they showed the finish everywhere on social media, and the UFC never does that. They wanted Sean to garner even more hype. Now, unlike a bunch of the champions on this video, Sean did have a title defense, but the fact that it was Chito Vera when it made absolutely no sense whatsoever at the time, besides it being revenge for a loss that happened over 3 years earlier, doesn't really strengthen the case that his reign was overhyped. And of course, he would headline the Sphere card, the most expensive event at the time in history. And when he lost the title there, of course, he would get a rematch against Merab without even fighting again because the UFC is invested. It's why he's fighting at the White House. It's why if he wins at the White House, Sean will absolutely get another title fight. They are all in on O'Malley, but when you actually sit back and look at what he did with his reign, it is beyond underwhelming compared to the way the UFC has presented him. Number 5, the day that never comes. The Francis Ngannou situation is still affecting the heavyweight division at this very moment. For 4 years now, there is not a definitive answer to the question of who is the greatest heavyweight in
you thought AB looked good against Pacquiao? I'll be honest with you, bro. You probably like one of the only people in the world who thinks that. Not saying it like that, but you know, Adrian Broner has always been the type of person, especially when he went up in weight classes, to throw less and less punches. At the time, I think he had already had like 3 losses, and they were all due to him not throwing punches. Basically not throwing punches, being very inactive throughout the rounds. And to do that against someone like Manny Pacquiao, even the Asian Manny Pacquiao, um, he didn't go in there with a smooth game plan. Um, he had a great coach in Kevin Cunningham, but he wasn't really thinking that fight. Yeah, he's you just put it perfectly. He's a very gifted slacker. He um is very talented, very gifted. But obviously hard work triumphs over talent 9 times out of 10.
In the world. And it's not because the division is so evenly matched, it's that the matches at the top simply cannot happen. Ngannou's heavyweight reign was highly anticipated prior to his first attempt at acquiring gold against Stipe Miocic, and after that he built himself up even bigger in the run-up to his second shot. Remember, before he even got to the title, the super fight was him and John Jones, not Jones and champion Stipe, to illustrate just how anticipated his reign was. Ngannou looked like he leveled up several times in the rematch with Miocic, and it was exciting, but really this was the beginning of the end. With Ngannou and the UFC unable to come to terms, Francis was uniquely situated to benefit from leaving the promotion so long as he won his first defense, which he did against former teammate and Infinity title contender Cyril Gane. Since then, Ngannou has gone to box, take a lot of money from the PFL, now he's taking some money from Jake Paul, but the thing he hasn't done is fight Tom Aspinall, fight John Jones. Give us some resolution at heavyweight. This man is the
I never thought of that. Francis Ngannou versus Tom Aspinall, that'd be a good fight.
champion. But seeing as his relationship with the UFC is just about awful, the
I
idea
doubt
of
we get it,
fighting
though.
Tom is completely out. And we know even if Jones could escape the UFC, that's not happening. So we're all just stuck here feeling unsatisfied. Number 4, era error. Everybody gives Joe Rogan shit for the Machida era thing, and that is in large part because it's really fun to dunk on people with 2020 hindsight. But the truth is that if you were a fan during that era, that call didn't feel out of place. It did feel like we were entering the Machida era. In this sport at the highest level, it doesn't take much to create a momentum that feels undeniable if the right circumstances all fall into place at the very same time. And that was absolutely the case with Lyoto. He comes into the UFC undefeated, wins 6 straight, beats former champion Tito Ortiz on the massive stage that was UFC 94, Penn versus GSP super fight. Machida gets this nasty leaping in instant KO on the ground of Thiago Silva when he was at the time unbeaten and heading for the title. And then of course he just dismantles Rashad Evans, who had never been beat, who just took the title from the most popular fighter in the UFC in Forrest Griffin, who looked like the future of the sport. So yes, the Machida era had begun, and my god, were we all fools.
That was like my worst prediction of all time. Welcome to the Machida era.
But I mean, truly, it's not like the guy sucked. You know, Shogun Rua, despite faltering against Forrest Griffin, might have been the best light heavyweight in the world, if not for the emergence of John Jones, of course. The truth is, the Machida era was never going to be long for this world, but because we thought we were seeing the coronation of the next era-defining champ, when he lost it to Rua after a single defense about the judges got horribly wrong, the Machida era was massively underwhelming, but we only have ourselves to blame. Number 3, notoriously weak. Conor McGregor's peak was so insane that we didn't even realize we were pissed off about his title reigns until after the fact. He just kept having these massive moments. He beats Mendez, he beats Aldo, and then that night...
I remember looking back on, you know, because I wasn't really watching UFC at the time, obviously, but looking back on Conor McGregor's career, like he got away with a lot of shit, a lot of stuff that fights wouldn't be able to get away with. And it's just so funny because you just see the obvious corruption to get like views, basically, you know, looks. And it's cool because it's funny, but once you really look back on it, it's just like, damn.
When he earns 145 gold, we're already talking 155 and moving up to take on RDA.
Most certainly, I'm looking to replicate what I have achieved in my previous promotion, a 2-weight world champion. I said I would do it, and I will do it.
It was like, okay, well, this guy is special. Let's see him try to do something extraordinary. The featherweight contenders can wait. But then he fights Nate Diaz at 170 on short notice because RDA drops out, and Conor loses. And it's the biggest deal ever because Conor was the biggest deal ever. So now we're on this whole journey of a rematch with Nate, and it's this huge thing. The featherweight title feels further and further away. After all that's done, Conor finally gets his lightweight title bid and looks like a god against Eddie Alvarez, and the excitement is renewed. Sure, they stripped him of the featherweight title afterwards, but hey, Conor is going to defend the lightweight gold now, okay? There wasn't even time to think about how he did fuck all with the strap at 145 or what was next at 155, though, because then he goes and boxes Floyd Mayweather. This unbelievably surreal thing, boxing the greatest boxer on the planet. This is before Jake Paul just got to do that all the time. It was the biggest event an MMA fighter had ever been a part of. That was a whole year, the Mayweather saga, while his belt collected dust. Even when he was finally stripped, I don't think it fully set in how shit these reigns were, because
I just don't think he should have took that fight. Like, obviously, you know, he does it for the money, but he just should have never took that Mayweather fight. Like, I'm saying it as a like a boxing fan, bro. He should have never took that fight. Nah, yeah, of course, but I mean, I think he should have just cause Mayweather would have waited on him. He would have waited on him. I think he should have just continued his MMA career for maybe another year or so. But nah, for sure, Mayweather would have definitely waited on him. Mayweather was what was he, like 38 or 39 at the time. He wasn't fighting no. He wasn't gonna fight no top competition in boxing, obviously. You know, for his 50th fight. He wanted to break Rocky Marciano's record of 49-0, obviously. And the best way to do it. Like he literally had the best opportunity to do that and fighting someone who is a fighter but not a fighter in boxing, obviously. And is just as a big as a big draw as he is. So, he would have waited for McGregor. Like if let's say McGregor wanted to do like two more MMA fights, fucking Mayweather would have
Immediately,
waited
he's
around there.
fighting buses and going to jail, and the rivalry with Habib is the hottest thing in MMA history. But finally, after that dust settled, after this insane run had finally finished, and there was this 2-year gap of nothing, the spell finally wore off, and it was like, man, this guy had two of the biggest title victories ever, and he did absolutely nothing with either one of them. It was a crazy time. You had to be there. Number 2, Papa Don't Preach. Let me ask you a question. What is Holly Holm's best victory after the Ronda Rousey fight? I will save you the trip to Wikipedia. Your options are Betch Kohea, Megan Anderson, Raquel Pennington, Irene Aldana, and Yana Santos. Holm fought for 3 more titles, by the way, with those wins. The answer, though, is Raquel Pennington. She's the only fighter in that group who would go on to be a champion, and while that is notable, she also did so after the division had been wiped out by Amanda Nunes. Point being, Holly Holm was supposed to be the next big star. The whole world was ready to embrace the preacher's daughter after she put away Ronda in front of the million plus. The UFC had her doing daytime talk shows. They were already getting the world ready for the rematch, which would have been even bigger for Holm. But Holm fatally decided to not wait for Ronda's return, something she absolutely could have, and instead she would fight Miesha Tate as the co-main event on one of the biggest cards in UFC history. A decision that turned out to be an awful one, because in the final minutes, she got dramatically slept via rear naked choke, ending a run that, with the Rousey rematch alone, would have been one of the most significant reigns ever in any of the women's divisions. Even still, as bad as that was, her name value carried her to several more title fights. But what was truly lost is almost immeasurable for Holm. Number 1, DuckTales. There are so many reasons that Jon Jones' heavyweight title reign belongs at the top of this list. The expectation of the greatest fighter in the history of the sport moving up to a new division with exciting potential opponents was astronomical, but the disappointment started even before he got there. Everybody wanted to see Jones fight Francis Ngannou, and we didn't get...
Hold on, because I want to comment on this fight. Top 5 lightweights. You think featherweight was his ceiling? Damn. I mean, yeah, I guess when he went up in weight, like when he fought Khabib, it was an obvious, well, I want to say obvious skill gap, cause it's been a while since I watched that fight, but I remember that fight being like not competitive in a sense, like they both were equal, but I remember it not being like like Khabib just dominating the whole entire fight up until a certain point. Obviously I could be wrong because I definitely had I haven't watched that fight in a while. But shit, if he looked his best at featherweight, then he definitely should have. Oh nah, because I remember him looking like a damn skeleton at featherweight. So I doubt he could have made that weight anymore. But yeah, man, that sucks. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It definitely seemed like it took a minute for Khabib to get his game plan going, but shit, he got that motherfucker. End up making him tap out. Yeah, that happens a lot in boxing too. Teofimo Lopez is a great example of that.
That fight, the narrative at the
Oh,
time.
man, I wanted to see this fight, bro. Like, this is an interesting ass fight because obviously Jon Jones is just as great as he is, but Francis Ngannou just, he's you can never really count him out. John Red, Damn, for real? Or bigger than him? Because I feel like Ngannou is definitely bigger than him. Damn. 84 wingspan, 6'4" is crazy. Bro, that is ridiculous. You don't think John wins? I mean, yeah, I mean, like, damn, bro, that just sucks that I mean, maybe if it was in another promotion, but I doubt that would ever happen. This is a great fight. I don't know, but it's gonna go down in history. Like even throughout both combat sports, like it's one of the biggest what ifs. You know, you got like in boxing, like Mike Tyson versus Muhammad Ali. Um, Muhammad Ali versus Lennox Lewis, all that shit, bro. It would have been a great fight.
He wanted to see Jones fight Francis Ngannou, and we didn't get that fight. The narrative at the time was that Jones asked for too much money, and it was the UFC's fault that it fell apart. But that narrative looks mighty different these days, because Jones would finally make it to heavyweight and make spectacularly quick work of Ciryl Gane, and the possibilities at that point were not endless. We'd already lost the Ngannou fight forever, but there was Sergey Pavlovich, there was Tom Aspinall, there were legitimately exciting potential fights. Instead, Jones would be adamant about a bout with early 40s Stipe Miocic, and even if that fight hadn't been delayed for nearly 2 years, even if it had happened when it was supposed to happen 8 months after he captured the gold, it wasn't a fight anyone wanted or needed to see. Even more so after all that wait, after Aspinall established himself as the clear next test for Jones. Maybe the last great test, the last great adventure.
I'm the best heavyweight in the world. Prove me wrong, John.
And that is where this gets even more disappointing and reframes the Ngannou narrative, because we now know that the same massive payday he asked for to fight Francis, he asked for to fight Tom. But according to reports, he was actually offered that money and he turned it down anyway, which really makes it feel like he'd have done the very same if they actually forked it up for the Ngannou fight. The way he handled his heavyweight run for a lot of people has put his whole legacy into question, and for many, the heavyweight run has tainted his legacy so badly that he is no longer the greatest of all time in their eyes. I'm not sure how a hyped reign could have gone any worse, honestly, which is so ironic considering he never even lost. Hey, how about the editor of this video, Max Randall, huh? Show him some love on his socials. Go watch his YouTube video.
John Jones is, and just how bad of a career he really has, which is happening to my damn computer. My computer just shut off. I don't know why I just did that. Hold on, give me 1 second. Yeah, no, I know. I've seen Ricardo Lopez. He actually just fought like a couple months ago, and I think he took a loss, but it's the heavyweights. You know, he's still a great fighter. You know, a lot of people count him out just because of one loss. You know, that's just boxing, bro. But he's still a good enough fighter to come back. Alright, we good. PC tripping. Yeah, how bad was that knockout? I don't even. I barely remember it. Hold on. Now phone tripping. Are you talking about? Oh, this guy. Why I'm thinking you talking about Oh, you talk. I'm tripping. What's my name? My man's name. The heavyweight is it Ricardo Lopez? I get so many guys' names mixed up. Lopez. Who is he for? Am I thinking of Ricardo Lopez? It's the heavyweight, right? What the fuck is that, guys? No matter. No matter. But yeah, it was a guy named Ricardo Lopez. The heavyweight that I thought you were talking about. But this guy here, he was yeah, I heard him. I haven't watched his fights before, but I definitely heard him. You know, people, you know, say he got the undefeated record. Um, the what is it? He hasn't beat a lot of. I mean, the most world champions out of Mayweather, but he's definitely a great fucking boxer.
We take a look back at the career of
Because
one of the best
even like so people disregard you know the fact that he of course he's 51-0, but he hasn't fought the level of competition like that's like that Mayweather has fought, right? But fighting 51 people and not losing one of them, even if they're, let's say, low competition, it's still an astonishing feat in itself, bro. Because it just takes one night, and every boxer has that one night. And Ricardo Lopez might have had that one night and still overcame it. You know, that's why
fighters
I
to have
give
ever
props to
put on a
the
pair of
fighters like him.
gloves. Ricardo Finito Lopez.
And then both giving up victories. Down goes the challenger already. I don't know if he can recover. It's up to 4 and 5 and 6. He's not going to make it.
If you go by the excellence of execution, you can't. I have not seen anybody as good as this technically in the ring in years.
Lopez was one of the best technicians I have ever seen. He had great power in either hand. He was a very patient fighter who outclassed his opponents.
Excellent defensive fighter. Beautiful stance. Brilliant ring.
The lower weight classes never really get much love too. But one of my favorite Mexican fighter of all time is Salvador Sanchez. I think it was that, bro. He was a dog, man. He was a dog. And it sucks that we didn't get all of his career.
Lopez really was the consummate boxer puncher. He could do it all, and he had it all.
Talk about Ricardo Lopez. What impresses you the most about him?
His ability to be so offensive and at the same time so defensive. He's just such a good defensive and offensive technician. I think he does a great job.
If you like highly skilled technicians, then Lopez is a treat to watch. In his fight against Zepeda, Lopez showed some exceptional counterpunching to the body.
Notice
those uppercuts in defense. Lopez
outclasses
all his
opponents.
opponents.
Well, I mean,
After taking
it's anything below heavyweight, anything below middleweight is considered like low weight, but low weight, like that doesn't get a lot of star power, that really has some great boxing, is like 130, like 126 below. So it's 130, then it goes to 126, and 126 to 122. I believe it's 122. We had 122, then 118, then like 112, I believe. See, but 116 or 112, and then it goes like 108. But like all them weight classes, like they be having some amazing fucking fights, like amazing slugfest. And it's rare that you really get a guy with like massive amount of power. So when the guys fight, they'll just be slugging it out because they don't really respect each other's power.
A nice right hand in the corner. The opponent quits on his stool. Lopez traveled to Japan to challenge for the WBC world title. Lopez's defense was on display early. In the fourth round, Lopez opened up with a terrific 1-2.
Yeah, MMA has it. Yeah. I've noticed.
Lopez finished the job in the next round. I think Lopez
But
was just
I've noticed in
using the
like
1-2
UFC,
to
like
set up
even
the left hook here.
maybe it's just recently, but
His
like a
technical
lot of the
skills
lower
are on the
weight classes get main event cards, like big main event cards, which I really like about that.
Highest level, so some of his punches are just set up punches. Lopez traveled back to Japan to defend his world title. Lopez didn't lose a second of this fight. Lopez started off the fight by investing to the body with some nice body shots. His counterpunching was also on point. By this point, everyone realized that the opponent was being taken to the Mexican School of Boxing. Class was in session. Lopez was winning from long range, and he was landing his uppercut anytime the opponent tries to get close.
It's a Greek setup, man. What is this camera?
In the 8th round, Lopez starts landing the uppercut on the front foot. He's using the right hand to set it up.
That uppercut is fucking nasty.
I thought the stoppage was good. The referee realizes that the opponent is completely outclassed. Lopez defended his title in South Korea next. Notice that illegal rabbit punch by the opponent in the first 10 seconds of the fight. Lee is a rough fighter who wants to have a war. He doesn't care about warnings. He continues to hit Lopez to the back of the head. I thought Lopez showed a good temperament in this fight. He had to deal with Lee fouling quite a bit, but he kept his cool and continued to outbox him.
You didn't know boxing. You know what's crazy? I didn't know boxing was that big in Japan until I want to say anyway. To be honest with you, Nayo anyway. I started watching his fights, then I kind of went down a real rabbit hole of how prominent just boxing is in Japan. You know, it's a very prideful sport around there. Especially in the they have the lower weight classes. Like, you know, that's their specialty. You know, a lot of their fighters come from lower weight classes, and it's just so fun to watch. You know, if the announcers be just so hyped, the crowd be so hyped. It's a great time. It's definitely a great time.
27승 그중에 20KO를 가지고 있는 지금 리카르도 로페스.
Yeah, they love combat sports in general.
신경전을 펼치고 있는 도전자 이경현 선수 4회전.
The Korean's chin was rock solid. Look at that left hook he just took. Notice that uppercut again.
Like 3
you know
uppercuts.
Lopez likes to set up that punch with the right hand. I thought a shutout was a very reasonable way to score this fight.
약간 눈에 상처가 있는 것 같아요. 자, 지금 여기서 보시죠. 왼손이 빗나가고 오른손이 빗나가고 왼손 턱에 지금.
Lopez was landing nice punches and looked in
He
total
wanted
control
them up, but still not. That's crazy.
다시 올려치기. 자, 저기서 다시 왼손을.
I agreed with the judge who gave Lopez every round of the fight. Lopez's fight against Pretty Boy Lucas was another clinic. Look at this nice slip and left hook to the body. This is high-level stuff.
I think that's called the Mexican body shot,
Slip
by
and
the way.
left hook to the body. This is high-level stuff.
I think that's called the Mexican body shot.
Ahí lo va a buscar desbordado.
Notice Lopez using a foot feint to set up a right hand here.
Procediendo Lucas, qué buena derecha, clarita, plena, sobre la cara.
Lopez was always winning the exchanges.
Se esquivó, se cerró la herida, pero la cosa no es tan fácil.
No, para nada. Definitivamente López a este punto lo que mejor haría es boxearle al filipino.
It was no surprise to see a shutout victory on the card.
Yeah, man, Ricardo Lopez was a great fighter. All right, fellas, I think I'm gonna call it a night. It's getting pretty late, and that motherfucker got work in the morning. American dream, baby. Good night, fellas. Good stream. Thank y'all for tuning in. I'll probably stream another time this week. I definitely want to stream. I want to consistently start streaming. I just gotta find the right time. But yeah, good stream, folks.